What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to this week's installment on The Lake Show. And I'm very happy to finally have a guest back on after about 3 months, my good friend, Paige Wasko. How are you, Paige?
I am good. I'm blessed to be on this podcast with you today.
I'm glad you could make the time to come on.
Excited to chop it up with you. And yeah, I'm excited that I'm also like one of your first guests back, or your first guest back in a really long time.
Yeah, it's been a minute. Everybody just gets so busy nowadays.
I know.
With work, school. I mean, half my friends are either graduated or they're still in school right now. So I guess it gets really boring after you graduate. And I assume you're still in school, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm on my last semester.
Okay, there you go.
We're almost through.
Almost. Trust me, it's very boring after college.
Yeah, a lot of my friends are older than me, so I have had like a good taste of kind of like the busyness of the real world, you know? Like, I feel like I don't have like a specific friend group I kind of float around, so...
That's how I am.
It's like, yeah, like a lot of my friends are like in their 30s, and I have a couple friends in their 40s, and I'm like, you know, I understand the hustle and bustle of life, so...
Yeah, absolutely. So, Paige, obviously haven't had anyone on before in a while, so obviously this is what I do at the beginning. Just give a little bit of background about yourself, where you're from, what you do in school right now.
Awesome. Well, my name is Paige Wasko. When people say, like, what do you do? I guess I should start by saying I'm a photographer by trade, self-taught. Obviously, I'm always learning and growing in that field. It's one of my favorite things I love to do. I do a lot of yoga. Let's start with the things I enjoy, you know. But I am from Sharon, Pennsylvania. I go to Youngstown State. I met you at Youngstown State. And you know, I just do my thing. I just, you know, take life a day at a time, I guess. And
when did you start at YSU?
I started at Youngstown State. So my college experience is a little choppy. I graduated from high school in 2019 from Sharon.
Okay.
I was always into photography at that point because like I had bought my first camera for myself when I was 16 or 17. It was one of those situations like I wanted my mom to buy it for me. I was like, I want this camera. And she's like, well, if you want the camera so bad, you have to buy it for yourself. Like if you're passionate about it, like if it's this thing, like why don't you save up your money and buy it? Because like a camera to my mom, like my mom really isn't into photography like that. So it was one of those things. She's like, okay,
which
like,
camera?
You're gonna have to buy it for yourself.
What kind of camera?
I started with the Canon Rebel T6.
Okay. You're gonna have to help me out on that because I have no clue like about cameras.
It's okay. It's okay.
I use my phone to record this podcast, so
it's all okay. The phones are. I mean, technology is always evolving, and it works.
100%.
But I started on like it's more of like an entry level DSLR.
Okay.
Camera made by Canon, and it's basically like the camera that a lot of people start out on.
Did you start off with a Polaroid by any chance?
Of course.
I knew you were.
I feel like we all do. But it's so funny because like how photography and how art is evolving now, it doesn't even matter like the quality of the products and like the price that you pay for what you're using. And I'll give you such a great example of this. I think I'm allowed to talk about that. I should be able to. So I got a job. You know, I got a DM on Instagram one day from kind of like a, I guess where should I start? I don't know how much you know about like the creative industry. No, actually it was for an agency out of Brooklyn, New York called Colorway.
Okay.
And they are amazing. And when you work with like bigger agencies, sometimes they kind of like bring people on to like help them find talent for it or help them organize or like kind of like creative directors. So then
I'll leave their link in the description.
Yeah, Colorway, they're awesome, out of Brooklyn, New York. The team was great, loved working with them. But I actually got a job for Adidas.
Okay.
So they do work for Adidas. They do work for, I don't know, like Doc Martens, stuff like that. Like, you know, like they're like a boutique agency. So they do smaller like events and smaller like things and like execution like for bigger companies. And so Dick's Sporting Goods is headquartered in Pittsburgh. And they had somebody looking for talent, and this guy messaged me on Instagram and he was like, hey, like, you know, Adidas like kind of wants to go like kind of like a 90s route with their new basketball shoe drop. They want to get back to like the old vibes, the old like look and all that.
Yeah.
And then the guy that hired me, he was hired by the agency, I think, to kind of execute the project in a really creative way. And he was like, we want to flip the idea on its head, like for this event. we want to put in like a kind of like a 90s, early 2000s, like kids bedroom and kind of like a living room setup and like all this stuff. And so why I bring this up around like quality of products and like getting started and stuff, and why like there's absolutely no shame in shooting on your phone. If anybody watching this is an aspiring photographer, videographer, anything like that, do not feel guilty about using your phone. Obviously, like pricing and stuff is a little different, like if you're doing gigs for people, but like do not feel discouraged for starting that way, because I still do it all the time.
Understandable.
But why I'm talking about this is I asked the guy that was hiring me for the project, and he was like, are you available, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, I am. Like, that would be so cool. Like, thanks for reaching out. And like, I've thought about that job every single day before I even did the project and after. They hired me on. I had 2 little digi cameras. One of them I thrifted from a friend.
Okay.
And the other one I thrifted from a camera store. And I shot the whole entire campaign video that they wanted, like all the behind the scenes stuff and kind of like everybody shooting around and trying on the shoes and the ambassadors and the set and all this stuff. And the team was so awesome, people from all over the US. Mm-hmm. And I shot it on 2 little digital cameras. It's
really?
posted on my Instagram. And
no
people
kidding.
are like,
I'll leave a link to it.
Yeah. And I was like, at first, I proposed the idea because a lot of fashion campaigns and a lot of people are shooting on Polaroids now. Polaroids and just scanning them, or they're doing kind of like the VHS vibes and stuff. All that stuff is like older technology. I mean, you don't have like the raw footage on those that you do on the cameras now. Like, you don't have different like log settings that you can shoot different, you know, like it's harder to manipulate it on the back end, but you can make it look so cool. And like that vibe is coming back. So when I had the phone call with the talent agency, I was like, listen, I was like, tell me if I'm crazy. They kind of told me it was like a low, kind of like a
low profile sort of thing.
Not low profile, but like more kind of like a not too technical of a job. Okay. I guess.
So simplistic.
Yeah. So he was like, you know, just all it really is like behind the scenes stuff. Like there's nothing really like acting out. Like we don't have a skit. You know what I mean? Because it was basically just like. I was just filming like behind the scenes stuff, but for the agency, for Adidas. Okay. And because in creative agency, especially when you get into bigger cities and dabble, I imagine it's like pyramids of people. Yeah, not necessarily a headache, because I really like enjoyed the experience and I really loved it, but.
I'm saying for someone like me, that would be a headache.
Yeah, you go through a lot of different people and you learn a lot of different personalities and you kind of learn how people are. I mean, like in those settings, you have really, really creative people, and then you have like the business side of the people. So it's like, you know what I mean? Trying to find balance there. But yeah, I mean, I'm all over the place.
It's all good.
I think I have a little bit of ADD, but it's fine. So when I was on the phone call with the guys that were like kind of scouting me for the job, I was like, I have a mirrorless camera. Like I shoot on a Sony, it's a mirrorless. I was like, I have a Sony mirrorless, but I have these 2 little digi cams. And they, you know, the one's like kind of about to shit the bed, and the other one has sand in the lens, and I got it for like $400 cheaper than I should have. And I was like, I just think I can edit around it. I can work around it. Like I can take on this video job. By the way, too, I should have said this in the beginning. It was the first video I'd ever gotten hired for. And it's the first video I've ever shot, edited, executed all on my own. All by yourself? Yeah.
Okay. And then how did it end up turning out?
Great. The agency loved it. Everybody loved it. Client was happy. So I turned it over, and I had a lot of fun doing it. Definitely a learning experience.
100%.
You know, you don't expect your first video job to be for Adidas or for an agency in New York that has seen a lot of amazing talent. I mean, like the North Face, Doc Martens, and all like, you know, different brands and organizations and stuff. And it's like the fact that they trusted me and the fact that like they really believed in my vision, a little like 22-year-old girl with 2 digicams that lives an hour outside of the city. Because I was living in Pittsburgh for a while, made a lot of friends there and stuff. I have amazing connections there, and the people there are amazing, and I always feel loved and supported. But I did move home just for rent and mental health reasons. And I was so scared that I wasn't going to get booked, or that people like were going to forget that I wasn't in the city. And I was kind of insecure about telling people that I did move home, because like I was so used to being so close to everyone that it's like if somebody wanted to see me, or I would go to the events all the time. My friends are pretty much all of my friends are in the creative industry in Pittsburgh or around here, or kind of all over the place. Yeah. So it's like I'd be an hour and 15 minutes away, and I was kind of going through a lot too. So like I wasn't always able to be present, and I still am struggling a little bit, but you know, it's one of those things where like when I got booked for that, I was like, okay, maybe I'm kind of still in the game a little bit.
Yeah.
and I am, but you know, it's hard when like you're in the city and you're doing all the work and you're with your people all the time, and then you move home.
And then all of a sudden it's flipped on its head.
And then you're scared you're not going to get booked. You're scared people are going to forget about you. You're scared whatever. I think I do more high paid jobs in Pittsburgh now than I did ever before.
Yeah. Well, that's because you made your mark with that one video.
Yeah.
And that's important.
Well,
Anytime anybody needs to step out of their comfort zone.
Yeah.
Yes, it's scary. Obviously, you didn't expect it to happen with a company like Adidas. Big ass company.
Yeah, huge.
But when those opportunities present itself, there's no reason you shouldn't try to pounce on that opportunity.
Of course.
Like if the Fresh and Fit podcast or the whatever podcast, if Myron or any of those guys, any of those hosts asked me to come on, 100% I'd do it. I'd shit my pants. I'd be scared to death if those guys were to come on. Oh, would I live up to what they do? But I'd still do it just because it's an opportunity that presents itself. So with that being said, what was the driving factor for you that leaned you into photography? Like, why photography? Why the creative industry?
That's a loaded question.
Put it in bare bones, like simplistic answer you can give me.
That's very hard for me.
That's okay. Then go into detail about it. What was the appeal for it for you?
So I bought that first camera when I was younger. That first Canon Rebel T6. Obviously, I had Polaroid before that. And then when I was little, I always enjoyed, cameras and photos and videos and stuff. But
fair.
Why photography? So I always loved documenting my friends, and I always loved taking pictures. Like we would go on, in high school, I would literally cart people around all the time in my car, and we would go sunset chasing. That was a huge thing. The sun would start to set and I'd go pick people up and it would be a beautiful sunset and we'd go there and then we'd get ice cream after, or we would do whatever. And any of my friends from high school, I don't know if any of them will watch this, but they know. If you know, you know. I had this gold Kia Sentra and I used to pack everybody in. And I was I always knew I was an artist and I always felt chosen to, I don't know, I just always felt like the artist energy, and I don't draw very well.
Okay.
And I don't, and it's you're growing up and we live in smaller towns, so it's art, drawing and painting. Yeah. But you don't see music, you don't see poetry, you don't see ceramics, you don't see any of that. So I, was getting started in pottery and stuff, and I loved that, and I loved composition, and it definitely trained my eye for photography because I did pottery growing up. So then I bought that first camera and we would go sunset chasing. I'd take pictures of the flowers, pictures of my friends, pictures of this, just documenting basically. And then I was oh, maybe I should try some portraits, try some senior photos, oh, whatever. So I would go with my friends, and there was a point where I was literally charging $25 for a photo shoot because I just wanted to learn, and I was just practicing, and I was just really enjoying my time doing it. Sure. And of course there were a lot of people that I wanted to shoot because I was oh, they look so cool, or oh, they have this vibe and I want to capture it, whatever. And then obviously when you feed into that and when you practice that for so long, you kind of make a little bit of a career out of it, It's kind of like that law of attraction. Yeah. So it definitely ended up clicking for me. And then I don't know, my favorite kind of work to shoot, I do a lot of weddings and stuff because it's a fairly lucrative industry. And I've had a lot of amazing photographers that have kind of mentored me / helped me make money and get paid in the field, for so long. But yeah, I would say the why is definitely the art, the documentation, documenting moments with my friends and just observing, and also the artistry of it is composition and composing. It's definitely something that I feel I was kind of born with naturally, just the eye for composition. That's everything fair. I look at, I feel I see in composition. There was those books that we read growing up. I don't know if you ever read them, but I did. It was the Cam Jensen or whatever, and she had the photographic memory, and she would help people bust crimes and stuff.
See, the only photographic memory thing that I ever been attuned to was Mike Ross from the series Suits on Netflix. That's anybody who watched Suits, you know what I'm talking about. That shit's really fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was told about that show.
You didn't watch it?
I think I watched the first couple episodes, but
you gotta watch more.
Fun fact about me, as a photographer, I should be better at it, but I am not very good at cinema. I'm not very good at TV shows. I'm not very... Because a lot of photographers and videographers study cinema. You know what I mean? They watch movies and they have,
they
they're
get
critics.
From that.
They get ideas and inspiration and all of that. I've always been a words girl. I love to read. I love to write. I love when other people read to me. I love when other people write to me. I love when people talk to me. I've been like a words girl. And I feel like it comes out in composition. Like it feels like you know what I mean? Like I'm taking photos and stuff like based on how I'm feeling and whatever. But whenever I'm shooting, there's always like there will be a song or there'll be a line or a word or something. Like I'm a very words girl. But I've been trying to get more into cinema and like study the composition of cinema and, you know, like I don't know, like the style of it and stuff like that. I definitely think it's extremely fascinating, but I need to get better at it. 100%. And I need to get better at watching TV.
But I feel like
I don't sit down a lot to watch TV.
That's fair. I don't really either, but at the same time, I feel like in your case and in the content creator's case or like that, I feel like you'd have to be interested in the movie or, you know, show you're going to watch when it comes to that sort of stuff. But I've always been into dramas and stuff. It's weird. Action and dramas, like really. Marvel, I can watch Marvel all day. Like I used to draw when I was younger. I used to.
I love that.
They're not good, that's for sure. The drawings are awful.
All of us are artists. I feel like deep down inside, it's just whether we choose to tap into that posture or not. I feel like we're all kind of born with that, and it's partially why like I admire kids. Like kids see life without any limits.
I agree with that.
And I think that like when you feed that as an adult or like when you feed those ideas and thoughts and just like you're able to translate your thoughts and feelings and just any kind of like idiosyncrasy into something that people can see and make it for themselves or enjoy it, it's like magic.
Yeah, I get that. And it's funny that you actually say that. Because
I know this closer to me. Sorry.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay,
but
cool.
It's like
hope I'm still in frame.
Oh, I'm sure you're good.
Okay, cool.
But the thing that I noticed is, you know, it's funny that, you know, you say about kids, like they see life without a lens or anything. Like they have all this creativity on their mind. Why do you think it is, and I've noticed this over a long stretch of time, why do you think it is that Gen Z like holds back on like trying to pursue something great? Why do you personally think that people don't take advantage of maybe some skills that, you know, they have, but they're afraid to go out and do stuff? What do you think holds them back mainly?
That's a really good question.
Because I can tell you mine. The biggest reason that everyone does and holds back and doesn't try anything new is out of fear.
Oh,
that's
100%.
That's the biggest killer because they're so scared to like attempt something of change because change is so comfort. But 100%. I've always said this, the comfort zone is where your dreams go to die.
100%. Like
there's no sense of urgency. There's no sense of drive. There's no sense of discipline. There's no sense of consistency. If you're going to live your life in the comfort zone forever, you're going to have a very lonely and boring life. Yeah. I'm thoroughly convinced of that. And I don't care, like, really what it is you're going through. Like, I understand we all have our issues. We all have stuff that we deal with and hold, you know, and just hold in our hearts, like, and it just consumes us sometimes. But at the same time, if you do nothing to change that, you're still going to be suffering the same way. The only thing that you're adding on to your life is more stress and years of struggle. That's it.
You can't heal the burn if you keep touching the stove.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's a great quote.
Yeah, I actually there's a few TikToks and stuff like in not Vines. Oh my gosh.
Vines.
I'm so old. I'm not old. I'm 22. There's a TikTok and a reel that I'm going to show you after this. You can even link them. They're some of the best videos. My algorithm is fire because like I really only like search like I don't really have like a lot of like funny stuff in my feed. It's a lot like just photography or like poets and stuff like that. Yeah. So for me, like everything you just said is so real. And I'm learning that too. Mm-hmm. Like I'm learning that like my comfort zone, that's another reason why I took that job with Adidas, why I started taking weddings on my own, why I started, just kind of like, like dabbling in some different things in life that always made me feel really uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. And it's because we're young, so it's okay to learn and kind of experiment, like being in and out of that comfort zone.
It's important to struggle in your 20s.
It's so important to try. The 20s are so hard. 21 and 22 have been the hardest years of my life. And a lot of it's because I do struggle with anxiety and some depression that comes from that. Yeah. But I actually just had like a come to Jesus with my therapist recently, and I like walked into her office and I was like, I've been going to her for a while, and it was one of those things like I sat down with her and I was like going on about some stuff, and she was like, you have a fear of failure.
Yep.
And
a lot of people
this
do.
literally was 2 weeks ago. Well, it's so normal. It's so common. It's
very
like,
common.
it's very common. Like, life is fucking scary, Tom. It is. Like, life is so scary, and like, life is crazy. It's unpredictable, and it's hard. I feel like sometimes the higher your calling is in life, sometimes the more shit you go through. But I, was talking to my therapist about it, and she was like, "You have a fear of failure," and I was like, I guess you're right. Mm-hmm. Like, I told her, I was like, girl, like, yeah, I think you actually just told me what my problem was. And like, ever since that day, because like, I'm a very complex thinker. My mind goes a mile a minute. Yeah. So like, the fear of failure is like the foundation. I have a lot of anxiety around health and stuff. And like, my family has a lot of anxiety and a lot of baggage. I mean, if any of them watch this, whatever, but like, they do. Mm-hmm. And I love them and I respect them and whatever, but sometimes I need to pull myself away a little bit, because it's like, I'm trying to heal that, and you can't heal a burn if you keep touching the fire, like the flames. And there's obviously a boundary there, because obviously people can do a lot for you and be very present for you, but a lot of them kind of have that root in fear. And I've just kind of seen, I'm an only child, and my parents are a little bit older, and I was raised by my mom and grandma for the most part. So I've kind of seen how the consequences of kind of living in that posture. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that they aren't. My family is great and amazing, and they have their great traits and great qualities. But I've kind of seen how those roots manifest as you get older. Yeah. And like you said, like, that's another reason why, like I said, I took that job with Adidas. I started doing this stuff because you have to bet on yourself, and you really, really, really have to. And it's fucking scary. I was literally so scared to shoot that stuff for Adidas, especially on a little digicam. If that footage would have failed, if that camera would have shit the bed, I would have lost everything. Yeah. And like, I'm getting paid for it. And like, obviously, like, it's a reputable brand. And I think about that all the time. I'm like, Paige, like, just do it scared. Just do it. Like, if you fumble it and you learn. Like, you fail. First attempt in learning. Period. Yeah, 100%. I agree with you 150% on that. Like I said before, everybody in this generation is scared to fail. Mm-hmm. And I think it's just, they place so much unrealistic expectations on themselves. I think they set the bar too high for themselves, mm-hmm. just because they're, I think the problem is it all stems from social comparison. They see everybody. It doesn't matter if you're a social media influencer. It doesn't matter how famous you are. You look at people like the Kardashians, the D'Amelios, the Addison Rays of the world, the Bryce Halls of the world, the Jake Pauls of the world, the Paul brothers in general. You look at all the influencers, quote unquote influencers, that are out there on social media, driving fancy cars, having the best models, having, just living the life that you've always wanted. And especially back in 2020 when COVID hit, so obviously all of us were in our bedrooms doing nothing. We couldn't go anywhere, couldn't socialize, couldn't do anything. That was the best summer of my life. I'll just let you know right now. I had a great summer that year, too. I hiked, I swam, I did yoga outside every day. One of my best friends in the world, my friend PJ, she would teach yoga every single day, like 5 days a week on her patio at her parents' house. And literally, like, we would do yoga there, and you would just sweat in the sun. And like, everybody's mats were kind of far because obviously nobody really knew what was going on at that point. But she was like, I'm going to keep everybody fit, healthy. She's like into that shit. And we were like flowing, hiking, swimming, like doing all this stuff. But it's like, you really only hung out with the same like 5 people because you like didn't want to, you know what I mean? Because everybody still didn't really know. And it was just so nice. Like, I felt so free. And then the world went back to normal. And then I was like, fuck, like, it's weird. Oh my God. It's still kind of weird. It is. Life in general has been weird ever since COVID. Ever since it. There's a vibe about it. It's a little fucky. And I get it. I get it. It's a little bad. But like, where I was going with that is like, I think the biggest killer for anybody, like anybody's dreams, and I think the fear stems directly from social comparison. Mm-hmm. I don't care what position you are in life. I don't care how your depression has affected you, how your anxiety affects you. If you do nothing, obviously nothing is going to ever change. So one, you have to work on yourself when it comes to that aspect in life. But number two, stop comparing yourself to everybody else, because, and I don't know if you know who Shannon Sharp is, but he's a former tight end in the NFL, but he made and obviously the quote he talked about can apply to everybody in life,
But he said basically, you never judge a man by where he's standing currently, because you do not know what steps he took to get there. And I'm a firm believer in that. Obviously, we see all the mega millionaires and everything living the life that a lot of people want. And if you want that and you think it's just going to happen instantly like that, I'm sorry, that's not how success works. That's not how anything in this world works.
Yeah.
It does not happen by the snap of a finger.
No.
You don't know what steps they took to get to that position. But I also tell plenty of people that you don't know how much further ahead than others you are. I posted a while ago and talked about if everybody in this world, you took all your problems, everybody on this planet.
I've had so many. I know what you're going to say. I have a lot to unpack around this stuff too, and I'm trying not to lose my thoughts because
you're good.
I have like that squirrel brain. But I watched that video that you posted, and I have thought about it time and time and time again. If you threw all your problems into a pile, everybody in the world, you would probably take yours and run.
Yes.
And
100%.
I just struggling with my anxiety that I have, and a lot of people say, oh, it's not genetic, it is genetic, it isn't genetic, whatever. Everybody has something to say about everything.
Yes, I agree.
And I feel like about a year and a half or 2 years ago, that shit used to impress me. Like, I used to look at like the cars and everybody with their fucking money and all this shit. It used to impress me, and it doesn't anymore, because I've met millionaires that are pieces of shit, and I've met homeless people that have more compassion than what anybody could buy in the world.
Absolutely.
And so with me, and like, I just think like, I don't know, like you see that stuff, like cool, you drive that, cool, you do this, cool, you do that, like whatever. But like, money does not. People can try to argue this up and down. People have this fucking hustler headspace where they're like, more money, more time, more freedom. I get that to a certain extent, but money is not going to buy you your mental health. Money is not going to buy you a gateway out of your depression. Money is not going to buy you a relationship with God. Money is not going to restore that relationship that you have with your ex-wife, with your girlfriend, with your boyfriend, with your XYZ 1, 2, 3. It doesn't matter. Money is not going to restore something that is built off of energy and is based off of how you are as a human being and as a person. Yeah. Because like, everybody can look at like, oh, like this famous person. Oh, and I have like, not to like toot my own horn, whatever, but like I have a lot of friends that have worked with a lot of celebrities and have worked with a lot of famous people and who know a lot of famous people. And kind of like, you know, whether they're in sales or whatever they do. And I'm like, they'll tell me a couple things about this person or whatever, and I'm like, oh, I would have never thought that. Mm-hmm. And I think that learning that when I was 19, 20, 21 helped me now at 22. I'm obviously still learning it, but like, the thing that I don't understand about Gen Z too, and like not about Gen Z specifically, because I don't really like, I try not to throw blankets down, and I try not to label and categorize groups of people, because I think everybody has optimal potential. It's like whether you tap into it or not. Yes. But I think that one of the things that I've noticed on social media, like you said, is a social comparison. Like, okay, like she's rich. She lives in this house in Beverly Hills. She probably is in debt. I know more than enough influencers that either I know personally or like, that like my friends kind of know or whatever, that are in debt. Yeah. And it's like, they can go on these trips. They can go to Barbados. They can go to Fiji. They can go to all these beautiful, beautiful spots. 9 times out of 10, either somebody else is paying, or 2, they're getting paid to be there. So they're not even like, you know what I mean? It's not like they're like going on these
It's not even their own
trips.
hustle.
Yeah, it's not even like their own hustle. And I think that like, I don't know. I try not to talk too much about this stuff, and I try not to put anybody in corners, because I just have my whole entire life, my grandma has always said to me, like, her golden rule was like always like treat others the way you would want to be treated.
100%. That's how everybody should be.
And secondly, her other golden rule was nothing is ever as it seems. Nothing is ever, ever, ever as it seems.
I can go a step further and add on to that, is that no matter what situation any of us really are dealing with, it's never as bad as we do think.
Yeah, that too.
Fear. I heard this one quote the other day, and I love it. Like, absolutely love it. Fear is a mile wide, but an inch deep. Yeah. It looks like an ocean. It really, it seems like there's no end in sight. Like you're in the middle of the ocean. Yeah. When you realize when you put your foot in the water, you're not going to drown.
Fear is overbearing and overtaking. Yes. And that's why it looks like this vast land or this vast ocean. I like that analogy.
I'll find that video and clip it.
And then you like put your toe in and it's like, oh, it's only an inch deep.
Yeah. So I've really started to do that the past couple of years. I mean, I've told you my past, and I've told everybody this. Like, you know, I'm not going to be a doctor. I'm not going to be a psychiatrist or a therapist. I just know what works. Yeah. And what worked for me may not even work for everyone else. Yeah. You know, a lot of things I had to, you know, I'm just going to say this, and I don't care how controversial it really is, you have to hit rock bottom in order for change to hit. For you to finally 100%. Admit that you need to change something about your life. 100%. I hit rock bottom. And honestly, I almost got knocked back down to rock bottom recently. But I'm not there because I put in the work and I put a good head on my shoulders. So it's not like, like I said weeks ago, I don't care what situation you're going to put me in anymore. I'm going to handle it. And I'm going to tackle it head on. There's no point in living life in the rearview mirror. No. At all.
That's something I'm trying to practice and learn. So like a bit about kind of like my current state and just kind of like how I am.
Don't feel obligated to go completely in if it's personal.
Like. No, a lot of it is, but I feel like if what I go through, one person can watch and be like, oh shit, or like even get to know me better, or like have a different perspective on like, I don't know, like women's mental health or like whatever the case may be. Like if I can have anybody feel less alone listening to something that comes out of my mouth, then like I'm gonna say it. So I guess like around my mental health stuff, so like growing up I always had horrible anxiety. Like I used to have to eat lunch with the greeter in elementary school. I used to run to the nurse and pretend I was sick so I can go home. I had a fear of thunderstorms. Like it was always like really like weird irrational things that, you know, I started doing therapy when I was 6 or 7 and I wasn't medicated until I was like 18 or 19, but I'll get into that in a second.
You're good.
But I, you know, like I was scared. Like I would skip out on specials. Like I would run back to the room. Like I had like these like weird fears of like people, like random stuff. And then like I fought through that and I almost kind of like grew out of it in a way. And then like 9th grade through like my like freshman year of college, I went to Kent for 1 semester. So until that point, like I had no anxiety. And if I did, it was just like here nor there. Like it didn't like long last. Like it was just kind of like, oh, a week or two I kind of felt shitty, or like I would go out of town and like not really eat, or like I would feel kind of like whatever because I was like real anxious. But like I felt so present, and I didn't realize how present I felt for a while until like the last year and a half of my life. I've really been struggling, and like that kind of like devil on your shoulder we have sometimes, kind of like, Paige, like you want to do a podcast? Like you're like going through this shit, like you're kind of like, you kind of feel like between a rock and a hard place, like you're still having like these kind of like anxiety moments and kind of like panicky moments and stuff, but no time will ever be the right time. And I think that like the right time, you know, and I like, you know, whatever, but for a while I had no anxiety. And then like, that's why I said COVID summer was the best summer of my life. I had no anxiety. I had no anxiety during COVID. None. Like obviously everybody was kind of like, oh, like maybe whatever. I didn't feel that way at all. It was like almost liberating. Like I could go to yoga. I could walk in the woods and alone. And like, I just had this time to be free on my own. And like, obviously it was very scary, but I feel like I didn't have a lot of like anxiety. Like I wasn't so like, like I wasn't so pent up. I felt like I was very ever present. And a huge part of that I owe to my yoga practice. I'm a certified yoga teacher, and I did that after I had a really bad bout of anxiety and depression. Why I went to YSU and I went to Kent for a semester, and I'm all over the place.
You're good.
Literally,
as a yoga instructor. Yeah. Do you believe that helps people overcome a lot of things?
100,000,000,000,000,000,000,000%.
I never done yoga in my life, and I don't think I ever will.
Really?
No.
Is it because of like a religious thing?
No.
Because I know a lot of people that say that yoga is kind of, I know a lot of like Christians and Catholics and stuff that kind of think that practicing yoga is not sacrilegious, but they kind of see it as like an ideology. And if you're practicing that, then like you shouldn't be practicing yoga, because yoga is an ideology.
See, here's the thing. I never even knew any of that. I thought yoga was just stretching with music. And personally,
Tom.
And here's the thing. I do not.
You need to get your ass in a fucking yoga class.
I'm not doing a yoga class. I'll stick to my iron. I'll stick to the weights. I'll stick with that sort of shit. With pre-workout, with creatine, with all that good shit. which you could get at buckedup.com. So don't forget to head on over there. Use promo code SHOW32. Get 20% off any future orders you may have.
I like the little built-in ad you just did.
Had to.
Fire.
Had to, because I forgot to do it at the beginning.
Hey, it's
but
okay.
hey, we're back onto it.
But
either way, I've been asked to do that. I've been asked to do a spin class. I've been asked to do yoga.
No.
I won't do any of those.
No. Yoga is very, very different than any other. Yoga helped me with my anxiety. So back to like my mental health thing, like I was saying, so I was fine throughout high school. I went away to college, and before I went away to college, I mean, when I was in high school, I was doing yoga 2-3 days a week with like my English teacher. Like we had like she was the best. Like I was doing yoga and practicing yoga like on and off the mat. I felt so inspired. And like, that's when I feel like my self-awareness and like that spirituality really started to set in for me.
That's
like
fair.
Where I started to kind of like develop those thoughts and feelings outside the box. And I kind of started to feel saved and set apart. And not in an egotistical way. I hate like saying set apart, but like that's really where I kind of started to feel like
I don't think that's egotistical at all. I think it's necessary to separate yourself apart from a lot of people.
And I did.
When it comes to this world, so don't feel bad about that.
And I did. So then I went to Kent for a semester, and horrible. Came home. I was like, I haven't felt panic like this since I was little. And I was like really, really, really down bad. And I started on medication. I was on it for 11 months. And maybe that's why I didn't have a lot of anxiety during COVID. But
I have my thoughts and reserves on something like that.
It's okay.
No judgment though.
No, yeah, it's a no judgment zone. I don't judge people on anything because one, you never know what people are going through, and two,
100%.
like everything is a little bit different. Not everything is what meets the eye.
Yeah.
You know. Back to that.
No, go ahead.
And I'm gonna you should try yoga. And I mean that seriously, because it's like, okay, creatine, iron, cool, whatever. Like that's awesome. Wait, lifting is cool and all, but there's something about yoga where you really, really get into your body. It's scientific that we store trauma and that we store different feelings and emotions in our bodies. And lifting is great. I don't lift. I used to lift when I was in high school.
And that's why I do it in the gym.
Yeah.
I physically can't sit still. Like yoga is not, honestly, maybe one day I'll try it. Maybe, but it's really not my thing.
If you did the yoga class that I took earlier this week by my friend PJ, you would change your perspective on yoga 110%, and I could literally hold you to it. I would literally pay for your first class.
You actually think that that's the case?
Yes. 110%. Yoga, you never well, it depends on what kind of yoga class you do. Obviously there's different styles. There's Ashtanga, which is like pretty militant, pretty
I thought yoga was yoga.
I'd say no.
That just goes to show you how out of touch I am with that.
It's
aspect.
okay. It's okay. I would never judge you for that perspective because we do what we can with what we know, and like that's okay. So like for me, I used to weightlift because I thought I was fat and like I hated myself and I needed to like separate myself. You know what I mean? But that's why I lifted in high school. Do I like to lift now? Like now? Hell no, because it makes me think of like those memories, like of when I used to go to the gym for 4 and 5 hours at a time, and I used to eat grilled chicken salads every day all the time because like I was very insecure, and I just had like that point. Like I would listen to the song Mirror with Lil Wayne and Bruno Mars, right? It's like Mirror.
Great song.
Yeah.
Great song.
So I would literally just like lift and listen to that song, and I would stand there and literally cry at myself in the mirror and be like, you know what? Like you can be going through, because I went through a little bit of shit in high school, and I remember standing there in the mirror, and I had my come to Jesus like that with myself when I was really young. So I was in the mirror and I was like, you know what, Paige, like you are the only person that's going to be there for you. Every time you rise, every time you fall, you're going to be the only person that you can like really, really, truly rely on. Like there are no bunk beds and coffins, Paige. Get your shit together. And in that moment, like that's when I really like kind of honed into like my spirituality a little bit. Not so much at that point, but shortly after that is when I really invested into yoga. Because, really funny story. So I swam in high school. Okay. And this is like kind of how my yoga journey got started. So I had all of that.
This could be interesting.
Oh, it's going to be great. So I had the time in high school where I really didn't have any friends. I would just put my headphones in. I would go to the gym. I would swim. I was lifting for swimming, lifting for, mental, lifting for all. And a lot of that, I feel like I wouldn't have had the experience that I did in yoga if I didn't have like that weightlifting journey of kind of like me avoiding life. That's kind of like why I lifted, because I was young. I mean, I was 15, 16 when I was lifting consistently. And I did it because it was when nobody was in the gym. It wasn't cool to go to the gym. I would go to the country club gym and I would go there and lift, like I said, for 4 hours at a time. And I did some personal training and stuff, like
you got
for swimming.
Arnold over here, 4 hours in the gym. Those are Arnold numbers, but okay, keep going.
Listen, I would like walk around. I mean, it wasn't like a focused, diligent, like lift the whole time workout. It was like I just needed to get out of the house.
Fair
and
enough.
I needed to get out of my own head.
I feel
and
that.
It was before I could drive. So I would pedal my bike to the park. And that whole entire summer, all I did was lift. Like I would just go swim.
Good
lift.
for you. That's not a bad thing.
And
whatsoever.
I mean, it's fortunate that like my family is in a position where we can have a membership at the country club. So I can go eat and swim and do lifting. So I was very grateful for that. But the reason why I was doing it was kind of like toxic. It was kind of like that avoidance, kind of like that get me through the bullshit thing, which is fine. I mean, I'm not saying, please lift if it makes you feel good, but I feel like I kind of crossed the line between inspiration and comparison, you know.
That's fair. But I also, here's why I would say everybody should go to the gym and everybody should lift. Because the more you lift, obviously you can release so much anxiety and anger that you have built up just by doing that, which, you know, to each their own, however you choose to handle it, as long as it's in a healthy way, do it.
Because there's a lot of ego in lifting.
Yes.
I have
100%.
friends. I have
ego in lifting.
I have friends that used to bodybuild, and now they just do like yoga, Muay Thai, and they kind of do like more like fight sport, more like technical stuff. And they don't necessarily compete, but they practice it because they were like, you know what, lifting was getting me nowhere, but like making me just feel like I was like this macho man that like I didn't really feel like I needed to be.
And that's
it was
fair.
kind of a surrenderment. And I have a few friends that got into fighting, not even like with people like jujitsu or like whatever, and like kind of like more like, not to sound like woo, but like more like submissive, dominant, like sports, because they kind of just felt like lifting was just, it was getting them bigger, like it was making them like feel more like powerful, like all this like macho shit, but like they weren't feeling like their soul was being fulfilled by going and lifting weights.
That's fair, but here, this is obviously, if the gym's not for you, like it's just not for you.
It's subjective.
The
gym is subjective.
It could be subjective.
I'm not done with my yoga journey, by the way, but please tell me what you're gonna say, because I might be able to tie it into my yoga journey, because I was getting there.
Yoga, but here's the whole idea about, and it's kind of a cliche saying, look good and feel good. That's true.
100%.
I feel like 100%. If you go to the gym, you start working on yourself in that manner, in a healthier, you know, more productive manner. You're gonna look at yourself in the mirror. You can be more proud of, you know, who you are, because you just look better. You look more appealing to yourself.
You're chipping away at the sculpture.
Yeah.
You know, you're doing what you need to do to feel and look good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's why I think it's very important.
Yeah, I do think that. I just think that there's lines that a lot of people cross and feel like they might have to cross to like make sure that they feel that way. That's what I mean by there's a lot of ego in it.
Does that mean I have to hop on a cycle? Do you get that?
No, wait, what?
Steroids. I'm not hopping on a cycle.
Oh God, yeah, no.
Maybe. Who knows?
I don't know a lot about that.
My boss is gonna hate me for that one. He always, because I always joke around like that. I'll do steroids, maybe just one cycle. People get so mad at me when I say that.
Yeah, then your face breaks out and you're like, what the fuck?
I don't really care. But go ahead, back to your.
So I had this like whole like lifting like trauma like self-discovery moment when I was like 15, 16. And I didn't necessarily feel good, but I will say I looked good. I thought I like looked good. I didn't really feel good, but I thought I looked good, whatever. So I got tired of like lifting because I feel like I just like trauma dumped lifting. Like I was like, I needed to like get away from it, because I'm kind of one of those people, I get hyper fixated sometimes. So like I will do it and not stop thinking about it and be so obsessed. And when I get sick of it, I'm like done. I'm like, you know, I need to switch it up. And so it was going into my senior year of swimming. And I always loved swimming because I did it, you know, I started doing competitive swimming when I was 11, and I stopped my senior year to do yoga full time.
Okay.
And like I said, my senior year of high school, I was always like really conflicted about college, and like maybe for a little bit when I was younger, I wanted to swim in college. But I was like, you know what? I don't even care to be like good enough to swim in college. I don't give a fuck anymore. Like it keeps me in shape, like whatever. Like swimming's a great sport, very therapeutic, good for the mind. But it just like, I just got tired of swimming back and forth. Like it just felt tired to me. Like I was just tired of it. But I was, you know, developing this love for yoga. So instead of doing swimming, I, you know, would just go to yoga 3 days a week, 3 days a week. And
that's fair.
Yeah. So then I was doing yoga like that, and I really fell in love with the practice. And then I went away to school for that one semester at Kent and lost my mind. Moved home, and I was like, you know what? I'm getting certified in yoga because, I hadn't taken a class in a while, like a good class, like I really, really loved, with people that I enjoyed and felt fulfilled by.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm going to, you know, start practicing yoga again So I got my yoga teacher training from Pure Yoga over in Boardman off of 224. They also have a location in Howland. Pure Yoga is my place. It's my spot. It's a place that has always felt like home for me. Melissa Siebes, one of my yoga mentors, and Shannon Shugart, she's the owner of it. But Melissa pulled me out of a place, and I don't even think she realized it, but she pulled me out of a place that I like thought I couldn't return from, because the practice of yoga is just so beautiful. And obviously, like I said, financially, like I had the ability to do yoga teacher training, and I was doing school too, but my yoga teacher training was like literally more important to me than any college class I could take, because we would sit there for 8 to 10 hours a day on Saturdays and Sundays, and we would go through, you know, poses, we would go through mental stuff, like everybody kind of shared their story and, you know, what makes their life theirs, and like what makes them, you know, what makes their story important, and like why they do yoga and why they practice and stuff. And it just pulled me out of a dark place. Like I looked forward to going there every weekend, and I learned a lot about the lineages of yoga, because, you know, there's like the 8-limb path, and you have like these different, like the yamas and niyamas, and like the rules and, you know, moral codes and stuff like that. And we read a lot of books. The Yamas and Niyamas book by Deborah Adele was probably the one book that like really, really like I honed into and really leaned into and kind of like changed my life. At this point I wasn't going to church or anything. So it, like I really leaned into it. But then I started teaching a little bit, and I liked teaching, but I felt just so fulfilled about being a student of yoga and just kind of taking like a little bit more of like a back seat, you know, like I loved going to yoga classes. I mean, I like teaching, and I want to get back into teaching probably yin, something a little bit slower and a little bit more restorative. Because there's yin yoga, there's ashtanga, there's bikram, there's all these different lineages and different things, but power yoga and yoga. Just like no, that's such a lie. I will argue that up and down. Yoga is not just yoga. There's different paths, and there's different ways that you can practice that, you know, either work your body differently or work your mind differently. Like I said about Ashtanga. Ashtanga is no music. Most of it is said in Sanskrit, and so it's kind of hard to understand. But when you know the poses and you kind of like know the flow, it's a little bit easier. Whereas power yoga is a little bit more of like that Americanized kind of like, more of like a cardio, like it's just more of like just more of like an Americanized type of yoga. But then you can like hybrid different ones too. I mean, like I've done classes that are a little bit too like Americanized, too like a little bit Easternized for me and like what I like. But sometimes I like it, you know, if I want to like feel happy, or it just depends on like how I want to feel and whatnot, like what practices and what classes I choose to take. If I'm feeling like I want to like not be able to walk for a week, I'll do Ashtanga. If I feel like I want to, you know, just new lease and just look differently into things, and I do more of a restorative, like a yin. And then if I'm just, you know, my normal yoga practice, my normal hot yoga practice is power yoga. So based off of like Baron Baptiste, and he's like a yoga guru. Everybody knows who he is in the yoga community. Kind of like that power flow based off of what he has, you know, kind of discovered and grew into. But another form of exercise, let me finish the yoga thing first because my brain's all over the place. With yoga though, it really helped me mentally, and it still does. And it's just like the people that I was with, it's just like a very intimate practice, and it's something that really, really gets into your body differently than I've ever experienced.
That's fair.
Like when you do different stretches and different long holds and different postures and poses and stuff, it really, really, really strengthens you. And it's so good for your upper body and your lower body and your mind and your, you know, your just everything about it. But a practice that I've really kind of started dabbling in and kind of falling in love with is Pilates. I do reformer Pilates.
Really?
A day or two a week, yeah. So I thought that, I mean, yoga obviously gets into your body and is a beautiful practice.
Someone told me to do Pilates before.
And then I started doing reformer Pilates, and I was like, wait, if I do this and yoga, I'm set. And that's what I do. I do like a day or two of yoga, a day or two of reformer. And it works for me. It helps me elongate, it helps me stretch, it helps me tone. And I've noticed that they kind of supplement each other. So, you know, my yoga practice is now stronger because of my Pilates practice. My Pilates practice is a little bit stronger because of my yoga practice. You're working your muscles differently, and you're working different parts of your body that you don't even know existed sometimes. I'm like, wait, why does like this hurt? You know what I mean? Or like, why does like this hurt? You know, it's like random like parts of your body that you don't really work out a lot. And so it's really, really beautiful. And Pilates and yoga both help me to get into my body. I think that's another thing with lifting that I always kind of struggled with. Maybe now it would be different because I've done the yoga teacher training. I've done some anatomy training. I've done all of that. So maybe lifting would be a little bit different for me now, but I feel like I'm also a group class girl.
Fair enough.
I love a group class. Like I love being around other people's energies. Like I love like getting out and like being around like people that want to be good and want to look good and want to, you know, all of that. And I feel like the gym for me is a little bit, I think the reason why I kind of struggled in the gym though is because like when you have a lifting buddy, I don't know, it just feels very like, okay, you lift and then you do this and then it just, whereas group classes for me, like I kind of like having somebody tell me what to do and like I kind of like the energy better. Like it just works better for me. And like obviously like I'm a girl and girls and guys just obviously receive a little bit differently when it comes to stuff like that. Like I love group, I love community, I love feeling, I love talking. Like I love all of that and the human connection that comes with those classes. So for me, I just vibe there a lot better than like I would in the gym or alone and stuff like that. 'Cause
that's fair.
A lot of the time I've spent alone in the last couple years has been very self-isolated and very much of a trauma response. So yoga and Pilates and things like that and like the group classes and whatever it is has kind of like allowed me to feel individual but also a part of something really beautiful.
That's fair. Mm-hmm. And that's really what church has done to me the past couple of years.
Also same.
Well, actually, really I would say the past 8 months, I would really say I started leaning into my faith because, and I said this for a while, there is only so much that you can do first off to deal with everything, but it's almost like, and this is coming off my belief, but I feel like everybody on this planet, we all have like a, you know, God-sized hole in our hearts that needs filled, and the only thing that can fill it is God itself. So that's really why I really turned a corner, and it's why I feel like I'm so good at being able to handle everything life throws my way, is just because I did take that leap of faith of starting, you know, to lean into my faith, to really accept the fact that, I need help, but it's not from this earth. It's not from this earth that I need help from. It's my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Yeah. And here's the thing. A lot of people have scrutinized me on social media because, you know, typical Christian stuff, like people who are anti-Christian and all that stuff. Here's the thing. If you watch Cliff Nechtel, he's a Christian and he's very powerful presence on social media, especially the TikToks that people post about him. But he has an answer for absolutely everything and anything that someone asks him about the Christian faith. Someone asked him before, you know, what is the reason I should follow religion? And he straight up said, do not follow religion. Follow Jesus Christ.
There's a difference.
Yes, there is. Religion
is man-made. The power of God and the grace and the presence, that's something you can't man-make.
No.
You either feel it, and it kind of brings up I know you weren't done, but just really quickly.
You're good.
The kind of like that idea of like having faith and stuff. I mean, like I've had a couple of my friends and like I've talked to people in the past who like not scrutinize me, but like they know I'm into yoga. Like they know, like I have a book of wisdom from the Quran. Like I read the Bible. I don't think that there's one correct way, but I would say that like, cause a lot of them are just the name, like just from my experience and like just from whatever, like a lot of the names and stuff of the different like Bibles, not Bibles, but like the Quran or the Torah or like the whatever, a lot of the names are different just based on culture and stuff, but a lot of them have the same like moral codes and like the same like right way. The Bible is what I lean into the most, obviously, and I go to a Christian church. My church is called The Sanctuary. It's in Pittsburgh. It was called Amplify, and then the lead pastor, who was my favorite ever, took it over and kind of made it his own now, and it's called The Sanctuary. And I feel like it's such an open space where like you can be and come as you are. It's presence over appearance. And when you just said like follow Jesus, like follow that, don't follow religion. Religion is man-made, and sometimes I think, and I mean you can argue this because I know that you're very strong in your Christian faith and it's not going to offend me, just like you saying that yoga is yoga, but but I just don't think that there's one specific right way to find God. Because I have found God in yoga, I have found God in strangers, I have found God when I was on the fucking floor and I didn't feel his presence. And I think that some people haven't felt that, but they will. And I think that in due time, it's possible.
Yes, I agree. I agree in that sense.
Yeah.
But, like I said, and, I don't judge anyone for any of their beliefs. I just respectfully disagree with that. I believe Jesus is the one true way to be with God. And that is going to be firmly what I believe till the end of time.
And that's beautiful.
And I think that here's the, as soon as I started leaning into my faith and everything, it's just like you have to realize that, sin, like those who follow the Christian faith, those who, maybe even are just struggling with sin in general, they have to realize that this is a constant battle. And
it's life.
It's life.
Yeah.
And you are going to be sinful. And it's like something my pastor once said to me, and it's, we will never be able to live up to God's holy expectation of us because our hearts are poisoned from birth. Our hearts are poisoned without the presence of God, without our Savior Jesus Christ. So that's really why I've leaned into the whole yes, Christian faith, but I'm not following the Christian faith based off, people telling me follow religion. No.
Oh yeah, same.
I follow it because Jesus Christ died on the cross for my sins
and
100%. Has given me hope.
I mean, the man was hated by everybody and he still died for them and he still suffered for them because he had a point to prove and he had something beautiful to give to the world. And I think that that is so real.
He's victorious already.
He's a hero.
Because it's written.
Oh, bar none. And that's the reason why, I settle into the Christian faith and, the reason why, obviously, I said, I do yoga and I kind of, dabble in some different stuff. But
I feel like you can, here's the thing.
But I have felt the presence of God. I feel him in my life every day. And I have a story that I'm going to open up about, and it's a story I've never told anybody before. But say what you're going to say first.
He's the reason I'm here. He is the reason.
And that's the most beautiful thing ever in the world, and I absolutely love that for you because my story that I'm gonna say is kind of based off of that.
Let's hear it, and then we're gonna finish off the show with I have one question, and we're maybe be able to get into a debate about it.
Okay, cool.
It's actually a funny question.
Okay, cool.
Because it just pisses me off. But go ahead.
So my story, around kind of having a lot of anxiety and a lot of depression, about a year ago, I was just really, really, really going through a hard time. It was kind of shortly after I moved home. I moved home last summer, but it was I think it was either January or March. I forget. I was just really, really struggling, really wasn't eating, was having horrible, 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 intrusive, really scary thoughts about people around me, about myself, about me hurting myself, about really not wanting to live the life that I was living anymore. And I still kind of battle with it every once in a while because I think that once your eyes are open and once you feel something that is so debilitating and so terrifying, it's hard to forget. But I had just visited my sister, my stepsister. I'm an only child, but I have step siblings. I had just visited my stepsister and she had just had my little nephew Lincoln.
Okay.
And he is so cute. He's so adorable. Actually, his birthday just passed, so I think it was I can't remember the date. Lord forgive me. Anyhow, so I went on a walk with my mom after we got home from visiting my sister, and I'm crying and crying and crying. We're walking the dog. I'm crying to her, and I'm like, Mom, I cannot live like this anymore. I'm walking around, and I'm like, I'm better off. Not to sound horrible and scary about it, but I'm like, I can't live like this. I said for the first time in my life, because I had felt God before. I had felt happy before. I had felt joy. I walked in a posture of nonstop gratitude and praise and whatever for years. And it's just you're in your 20s, sometimes life hands you shit and you just feel differently for a while. You know what I mean? It kind of throws you off. And my goal still today even is to get back to that posture of really feeling gratitude and anxiety. Gratitude and depression can't coexist in your brain. So it's getting back to that is my goal. But anyhow, so I'm I don't feel grateful. I don't feel joy. And I told her, I said, I literally feel evil. I feel like I am overcome by something. I feel like I'm meant here to teach people that you just can't live like that. I just felt so dark and hopeless, right?
Yeah.
So I'm crying, walking the dog. And we still, like, my family still lives in Sharon, me and my stepdad, my mom. And we were, walking around the track with the dog. And when we were on our way into the track, I found a stack of Post-it notes on the ground. This is going to give you chills, maybe.
Okay.
I found a little stack of Post-it notes on the ground, and I was just going to X-nay it. Like, whatever. If somebody dropped a fucking Post-it note, who cares? But I'm one of those people that, like, I'll see, like, somebody's grocery list and Target. I'm curious, yeah. Because, like, that part of me just wasn't taken out yet, So I was like, whatever. So I'm like, feel out of body. I'm, like, walking around depressed, shaking, like, whatever, crying to my mom. We're on our way out of the stadium, the Sharon High School Stadium. And on the ground, I'll literally send you the images if you would want to make a reel out of this or whatever, because this story is really fucking cool. I pick up these Post-it notes off the ground, and I look, and it said, "Have a good day, Paige," blah, 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 blah. And then I read through the Post-it notes. It was like, "Have a better day." Like, I have the Post-it notes. I didn't pick them up, but I have photos of them on my phone, right? And I'm, like, crying about how crying to my mom about how there's no God. I'm crying to my mom about how, like, I feel so broken, and I feel like I'm shunned, and I feel like there is no point to any of this, because for the first time in my life, I felt no God. I felt no faith. I felt no gratitude. I actually was so empty. And I pick up these Post-it notes, and I, like, looked at them. I was like, "Mom, you're not going to believe this shit." And I start crying even harder because I'm like, what is even happening? And my mom's like, "What?" I said, "Read this Post-it note. And if you wrote this, fuck you." But I was like, "You're lying to me. Like, you put this here because you know I'm going through it." And she's like, "Paige, it wasn't her printing. It wasn't her handwriting. It was none of that. It was literally none of that. I guess some girl that goes to school at Sharon's name is Paige, and she was waiting for the bus and dropped the Post-it notes her mom may have put in her lunchbox, or her dad or somebody, and her name was Paige. And it was like, "Have a better day today, Paige," blah, 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 blah." And I remember dropping to my knees in that moment, because, like, not to sound, I always say not to sound egotistical, because, like, that's just the benchmark of, like, me always wanting to be humble and making whatever. But, like, I have always felt like I was very chosen. I've always felt the presence of God, even at a very young age. And, like, there's been miracles in my family, and there's been a lot of great overcoming in my family. There's been a lot of really, really weird shit too, but there's been so much victory. And in that moment, I was like, I looked up to this guy, and I was like, "Okay, like, we're still here. Like, we're still connected. Like, you're still here for me." I remember literally thinking that, and I was like, "God, thank you for giving me that." And it's one of the most terrifying things ever. Yeah. And I literally have the photos on my phone of the Post-it notes. And then I later talked to my dad about it, and he was like, "Why didn't you pick them up and keep them?" I said, "Because maybe that girl would have had a bad day. Maybe she would have went back and found them." I wanted to leave those Post-it notes for somebody who may have found them like I did. Yeah. Because in that moment, Dom, and I haven't told many people this story because it meant so much to me that I didn't really want to share it almost. But God is wholesome. God is real. And, like, there is a divine protector and a divine creator and divine time. And there is, like, that ever present. He's ever present. And, like, it was one of the worst days of my life, but when I found those Post-it notes, I was like, okay, like, I'm glad. I still felt chosen, and I still felt guided and protected after that. And I went home, and I was just in that state of mind where I didn't trust anyone, and I was paranoid too. And I was like, "Mom, you wrote those, you put those there, like, you're lying to me." She's like, "Paige, I can't believe it, but, like, I did not. Like, that's not my handwriting. That's not my printing. Like, I'm not setting you up. Like, you found those." Yeah. And I was like, "God," but there's been so many stories in my life. Like, I could go on forever, but there's been so many things in my life where I've experienced really, really similar feelings and emotions to that make me kind of feel like, okay, God, like, I'm chosen, and I'm glad to be here. And even when I don't feel glad to be here, I'm like, I think about the story of Jesus. He died for people that hated him. He died for people that didn't believe him. And he's always there for us. He's a hero. Always. He's a hero. And there's so many wonderful people in history and different things that have exuded that heroism as well. A book for you that I really, really, really want you to read, and I've recommended it to so many people. It's one of the most beautiful reads ever. Is Courage is Calling by Ryan Holiday. He has a Daily Stoic podcast. Okay. Ryan Holiday. He's amazing. And that book changed my life. And I read that book shortly after I found those Post-it notes. And I was like, the two of those things, medicine. Got off that medicine. I wasn't even on a medicine because I was good for a while. There you go. I'm happy to hear that. That's a great story. Yeah.
One last thing before we end the show. Oh, you're good. Can you explain girl math to me?
I feel like we all understand girl math a little bit.
No, I don't, because it makes no sense.
I feel like I'm kind of a grandma though. Like I'm not.
If you buy something for $200 in cash, guess what? You still spent $200. It still left your overall net worth. Girl math pisses me off.
Okay, so here's my thing. I am not another one of those things where I love girls, I love women, I love men though too. Like I love everyone. Like I am not like. Listen,
we don't judge on this show.
Yeah, we don't. It's a no judgment zone. I tend to have a little bit more of like a masculine mindset, I think, around money.
Okay.
Girl math, I get it to a certain extent because trust me, I've been there before. Like if I'm on Amazon and I like buy something for $50 and then I return it and I have the $50 credit on my account, I'm like, ooh, free money.
That's not free money.
But listen, I save all my money in cash and I don't spend my cash. So
you saved money right there.
I do save money.
But the second you spend cash, that's spending money.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, thank you.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not a girl mather to that point. I'm a girl mather like where I'm like, oh, if I have a gift card, like, or if I don't know. It's weird. It's definitely like, it's a psychological thing. It's a marketing thing.
If you have a gift card for $25, let's say your mom gives you a $25 gift card from Chick-fil-A.
Okay.
You are $25 richer. Okay. But the second you spend that, you lose $25. That's $25 out of your pocket because your mother or whoever gave you that $25 gift card gave you money. It is now yours. Yeah. That is a transaction. And you are willingly...
It's still currency. Yeah, I agree.
Yes, it's still currency. You are willingly giving it to the Chick-fil-A employee. I used to work there. But you're handing it to the Chick-fil-A employee and you are taking money away from you. I'm sorry. Just because the gift card came from your mother, came from your grandmother, came from your friend, it doesn't matter.
I agree.
You're spending money.
See, I agree. So that's not like I'm not a good girl to ask about the girl math thing too. Because
I know some.
I'm not good with that because I hoard my gift cards because that's how I think. I'm like, oh, like if I actually have a stack of gift cards probably about this thick in my car.
That you've never spent?
Never spent.
That's actually crazy.
Yeah, because I wait for a time where I'll really, really need it. Because I'm like, what if I was like broke, or like what if I found myself in a shitty situation? Like,
you could sell gift cards. People love gift cards. People will buy them. They'll buy them off you.
I've bought gift cards off of people before. They were like those like Visa gift cards.
Someone gave me a Regal Cinema gift card before. I'm like, bro, Tinseltown is the only way to go.
They used to have a machine at Giant Eagle. Now, granted, I mean, it's like the Sharon Hermitage Giant Eagle because that's the one I go to mainly. But you used to be able to like put your gift cards in it and they would just take a percentage and they give you cash of the gift card.
Fuck, I'm driving the PA for that shit.
Yeah, I think that existed. Maybe I'm like tripping or maybe I saw it in a dream. But no, the girl math thing, I'm a girl mather to a certain extent, like I said. But I think that money's money. Like whether it's your money or somebody else's, it's still it's a transaction. My whole
premise on my whole combative nature against the girl math. One, it pisses me off when people try to justify it. It really pisses me off. My one friend who watches this is gonna know what the fuck I'm talking about, and I'll probably
Did you ask me about girl math so you can get mad?
No.
Okay, cool.
I just decided to ask that because you're the first girl I've had on in a while, and I needed to know. But either way. Girl math, so funny. Girl math pisses me off so much. It's like one of my least favorite things on planet Earth.
I think that like just because like I am a girl and just because like it actually like does make sense to a certain degree for me. Like I'm like, yeah, that is girl math. Like I'm gonna girl math this real quick, But it's not something that I would like actually like stand firmly and like not. Like, it's not something I would be like so serious about. You know what I mean? Like I would just joke about it, like how it makes me feel, but I know it's a feeling and it's not actually logical. So like that's kind of like my thing with girl math.
It's so illogical.
Yeah, I know. Makes no sense. But it's funny.
It's funny, but
that's like that. I'm kind of like you though. Like it's funny, like especially because I'm a girl. I'm just a girl, But like I girl math sometimes, but I'm
Gen Z.
I try to be a little bit better than that.
Yeah, I think we all should strive to be better than
I think we should all
more than half of Gen Z.
I think that we should all strive to not be impressed by somebody's cars or money. I think we should all try yoga. And I think that we should all really, really search for the joy and presence of God. I think that's my 3 takeaways.
Yes, no, and yes.
You would, Dom, I'm seriously being so for real. You would actually really love yoga because it's very fast paced. It's very body. You would feel shredded. You would feel good after. You would feel healthy because you just sweat your ass off. I mean, I just did a 1 hour power flow on Tuesday, 101 degrees.
Power flow sounds like a vape someone came up with.
I don't vape. I also don't drink and I don't smoke. I don't even drink caffeine. I don't drink anything. So I drink water and cold pressed juices.
Good for you.
Yeah.
I wish I could live like that.
Yeah.
Too bad. I can't.
I've never been into drinking or smoking. I mean, I've done it a few times.
I'm not referring to that.
You
think I can? You think I can't wake up in the morning without a cup of coffee? Fuck no.
Really?
I need coffee every morning. I've had coffee at least once a day.
That's crazy.
Every day, at least 1 cup for the past 3 years.
That is insane.
I like.
And a lot of people are like that, though. Like, I mean, I don't judge it. Like, a lot of people are like that. But for me personally, I wake up every morning and drink water. And then I eat eggs so I eat pretty clean. I'm one of those kind of clean eaters. I don't eat a lot. But
I try to clean eat.
Yeah, so luckily,
but sometimes a 2 a.m. trip to Taco Bell is just what you need.
I haven't eaten fast food in a really, really long time.
Good for you.
I'm not trying to make you feel shitty about yourself. I'm just saying, like, my experience. Like, I used to eat Taco Bell all the time, and then they got rid of the shredded chicken burrito, and I had beef with them, and I was like, you know what, I can't.
Paige, I really appreciate you again taking the time out of your day and come on the show today.
Of course. I'm so glad I got to sit down and talk with you. This is my first podcast I've ever been on. And I think I said everything I needed to.
Awesome.
And wanted to. Well, I think we had a great conversation. And this is our first time catching up in a really long time. So
it's been a long time since we've seen each other.
It's been a while.
It's been good to see you.
Yeah,
and thank you again.
Of course.
And that's going to wrap it up this week on the Lake Show, ladies and gentlemen. Be sure to like, subscribe, share with your friends, leave some comments down below. I'm your host, Dominic Lako. God bless.
I love the chase and the hunt, and I set the pace when I'm running. I always take what I want and I always give it 100. Don't need a bank, no I'm funded. Play the game like it's nothing. I'm always thankful for something. Don't take for granted, stay humble. Now wake up! It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend to me. It's not working out, maybe it's